Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Saul Alvarez was pushed to the distance by Shane Mosley. James Kirkland, quite frankly, according to Harold Letterman on HBO, his scorecard, Kirkland was losing to Carlos Molina by 7 rounds in his last fight when Carlos Molina got disqualified. Not for anything Carlos Molina did, but because a cornerman, in a moment of chaos, stepped into the ring while the referee claimed he was still doing his count. Right? So both of these guys went a few rounds in their last fights. I don't know who wins this fight. What I do think I know, because styles make fights more than anything else, is that somebody is getting knocked out in this one. The bet I believe in is to take both guys by KO. Right? Let's talk about why. Now, I expect Saul Alvarez to be a big favorite in this fight at the casinos. He shouldn't be. As much as I like Saul Alvarez, and I do, right? He doesn't have the skill set that James Kirkland's last opponent, Carlos Molina, has. Understand, Kirkland looked bad in that last fight because styles make fights. Because the bully, James Kirkland, the alpha dog, the lead puncher, could not handle a guy coming up to him, bent at the waist, who was able to literally put his head on Kirkland's chest and smother him while keeping the fight in the middle of the ring. Right? Carlos Molina put on a clinic. But Carlos Molina is an excellent fighter who knows how to fight inside and who knows how to clinch you for strategic purposes. Right? Kirkland is a guy who likes to be the hunter. He doesn't like to be the hunted. Right? Kirkland, like many bullies, was simply not prepared for a guy who literally could come up inside on him, could keep resetting the angles, turning him, clinching him, could literally hold onto his right hand, Kirkland's a southpaw, while hitting him with the free hand. Right? So Kirkland was really spanked by a superior boxer. I don't believe that Canelo has Molina's movement, has Molina's balance, has Molina's skill set in terms of being able to tie up a guy, being able to work a guy over on the inside, being able to literally, like Alexander Povetkin against Marco Huck, literally bend down in such a way that his head was outside of James Kirkland's power zone. Right? Conversely, let me say this. As much as I like Saul Alvarez, what was the deal when he fought Miguel Cotto's older brother, got backed up early, was pinned against the ropes, and was getting worked? Right? Before you hop on the Saul Alvarez bandwagon, ask yourself what happened in that fight. What I want you to do too is to watch that fight, then watch Vladimir Klitschko against Corey Sanders a few years ago, when Vladimir Klitschko lost his title. By the way, Vladimir never gave Corey a rematch. Corey's a southpaw just like James Kirkland, right? And what you'll see is that Vladimir Klitschko's style, very similar to Saul Alvarez's. Great left hook. You remember Vladimir Klitschko took out Ray Austin with a left hook. I'm not even sure if he threw a right in that 2-round fight. Right? Great left hook up front. Great straight right hand. And I know that YouTube Nation here's a straight right hand. And I'm going to get a lot of emails saying, doesn't a straight right hand work well against a southpaw, especially one with the limited head movement and defense of James Kirkland? I'll agree with that. But understand the problem, right? Vladimir Klitschko, Saul Alvarez, if you get inside that concussive left hook and that great straight right hand, if you get inside that power, aren't both fighters a bit eggshelled? Isn't the inside a big yoke? If you get Saul Alvarez up on the ropes, what happens? How did he do against Miguel Cotto's older brother? I mean, Miguel Cotto's older brother literally worked Saul Alvarez early in that fight. Right? Saul Alvarez was able to come back. But the point is simply, if you're fighting James Kirkland, and if you cannot control distance, and if James Kirkland, a very aggressive southpaw, backs you up to the ropes and starts to smother you, and if you don't have the slickness, the ability to bend at the waist, the ability to clinch, the ability to turn, the ability to, hold hands while hitting with the other hand, if you don't have the slickness of Carlos Molina, what happens next? I think this fight's a competitive fight. Some of the things I would look at would be the health of James Kirkland, right? Kirkland is supposed to have had 2 tears in his right shoulder that were supposed to have kept him out of action until October. But of course, Kirkland has agreed to this fight before then. And we all know the Kirkland mindset. I believe James Kirkland is the kind of warrior, he calls himself the Mandingo Warrior, who would fight you even if he only had one hand. Right? There's a school of boxing where, if you get offered a title shot, you take the title shot. I believe that's the old school that James Kirkland is from. Right? Paul Williams was supposed to fight Canelo. James Kirkland was supposed to be recuperating. Paul Williams suffered a tragedy. Canelo needed an opponent. Some guys will literally, get out of a hospital bed to fight, a big fight. Right? Larry Holmes, by the way, one time literally was having vision problems. He actually fought a fight wearing a contact lens because, of course, he couldn't pass up the opportunity. So before this fight, you need to read reports about the health of Kirkland's shoulder. Another thing you need to figure out is Saul Alvarez's weight. Keep an eye on that. He weighed 167 pounds at the time of the fight for his last fight against Shane Mosley. If you watch Saul Alvarez, you'll notice that he's the fighter who takes time off during rounds. Now, we've seen some guys do it skillfully. Bernard Hopkins will take time off during rounds, but there's a difference. Bernard Hopkins is older than 45 years old, right? He's taking time off because he needs to pace himself. When I see a guy in his early 20s taking time off, and he's a professional athlete, right? And of course, there's always a concern about whether he's going to make weight. And of course, he gains more than 10 pounds after the weigh-in, before the fight. To me, that's a problem. When you're fighting a warrior like Kirkland, who is going to bring it 3 minutes of every round for 12 rounds. James Kirkland doesn't take rounds off. Maybe there are times in fights, like the Molina fight, where he's overwhelmed. The skill gap is too great between him and his opponent. His shortcomings, his inability to roll with punches, his predictability, his inability to fight off his back foot, right? Maybe those come front and center. But I don't think I've seen a James Kirkland round where the stamina wasn't there, where he wasn't pushing himself. As long as Kirkland is with Ann Wolfe and isn't, with some other trainer, right? I believe the Ishida fight, he was with some other trainer and had to lose weight for that fight. As long as he's with Ann Wolfe, I expect Kirkland to be in much better shape than Saul Alvarez. So let's talk about the mechanics of this fight. Anything can happen. Either guy could get a first round knockout in this fight, right? Best case for Saul Alvarez. He comes out. James Kirkland's head is there for the taking. You know where James Kirkland's going to be. He's right in front of you. He's not dancing away from you, right? Although he did dance a bit toward the end of the Angulo fight, but that's another story, right? Let's say James Kirkland is right in front of you. You're Saul Alvarez. You're going to have some chances early to try to decapitate James Kirkland, right? He's going to be there for that left hook. He's not hiding his head. You don't see Kirkland coming in with a shoulder between, the other guy's left hand and his head. No, Kirkland comes in, his head's relatively unprotected. That's why he's been drilled in the first round in multiple fights. Let's not forget, after Ishida knocked him down multiple times in the first round, he got drilled by Alfredo Angulo in the first round, right? So if you're Canelo, you're going to have a shot before Kirkland warms up of hitting him with either a left hook, Canelo's best punch in my opinion, or a straight right hand, right? If you don't, Canelo has another zone where he's a mid-range hooker, right? Kirkland isn't too defensive and covering his body. You can hit Kirkland to the body. Canelo might think that he's the bigger man and can wear down Kirkland's body, right? That's the Canelo side of the table. But everyone here needs to realize that there's a Kirkland side to the table, right? James Kirkland might find that he can walk down Canelo, right? Canelo has increased his hand speed. It's an open question on how much a boxer can increase his reflexes, right? You're either hardwired for quick reflexes or you're not, right? When I see a fighter and he's getting hit flush, Kelly Pavlik right now, right, where opponents seem able to hit him flush. The guy doesn't really seem to move that much when a punch is on the way, right? I don't think there's a way to turn a Kelly Pavlik into a Sugar Ray Leonard or a Floyd Mayweather, where as the punch is on the way, not only is that punch being defensed, not only is the guy rolling with the punch, but the guy's actually throwing a counter while the punch is on the way, right? Canelo, to me, doesn't have Ray Leonard or Floyd Mayweather cat-like quickness. That's not his game. So what happens if Kirkland comes inside and Canelo isn't bent at the waist and can't stay bent at the waist like Carlos Molina? Canelo can't fight inside like Carlos Molina. Canelo might not be able to keep this fight in the middle of the ring like Carlos Molina. What happens if Kirkland comes inside and Kirkland gets Canelo up on the ropes? Does this look like Corey Sanders against Vladimir Klitschko, right? Understand that you can be a big puncher but have no power inside. If you get by Canelo's mid-range hooker line of offense, what exactly does he have inside? Also, if James Kirkland, who has a very high knockout ratio, hurts Canelo, does Canelo have the ability to clinch that Carlos Molina has? Does he have the slickness? Right? So, let me just say, I don't know who wins this fight. What I think I know is that this fight ends by stoppage. Don't be fooled by Shane Mosley or Matthew Hatton going the distance with Saul Alvarez. As an aside, that Matthew Hatton fight was so problematical, I actually had a video up before that fight saying, take the over, right? My point to you is this. Matthew Hatton went the distance with Kell Brook. Matthew Hatton is a survivor. Shane Mosley has never been stopped. Never. Right? Don't think because those guys went the distance with Canelo that everyone can go the distance with Canelo, especially a guy like Kirkland who doesn't really roll with punches. Conversely, right? Don't think that Canelo goes the distance with Kirkland simply because a slickster like Carlos Molina was able to embarrass Kirkland for several rounds, right? Carlos Molina, sometimes excellent boxers don't have titles. Carlos Molina is an excellent boxer with a skill set neither of these guys have. I'm not saying that Carlos Molina necessarily beats Saul Alvarez, but what I am saying is that there's certain things Carlos Molina does that make him hard to take out. He's in that Bernard Hopkins, Andre Ward school, where the guy knows how to make minute adjustments. I don't believe either of these fighters is going to fully know what to do if they get hit with a bomb from the other, right? I don't think they have the survival skills of a Molina or a Bernard Hopkins. I'm expecting somebody here to get stopped, right? I think Saul Alvarez is going to have a problem if Kirkland gets in on his chest. And I think Kirkland always has a problem defensively. Anything can happen in this fight. 12 rounds is going to seem like an awfully long time. I'll be surprised if this fight makes it to the 10th round, much less the 12th round. I like both guys by knockout. You should get better than even money odds on both by KO, simply because between the two of them, only Kirkland has been knocked out, and even in that fight, Kirkland looked lucid to me. Kirkland looked like he could have continued even after the third knockout. Neither of these guys has ever been unconscious in the ring. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Thanks for watching.